Hi, this is Greg with Lionquestfitness. Today, we're going to talk about the Simply Rugged Sourdough Pancake holster. And in the holster today, I've got old Geronimo, Smith & Wesson Model 10, circa 1977. In the video, I shot a stainless Model 64. But we're going to talk about this holster right here. Now, these are made by a company called Simply Rugged, and they are rugged, and they're designed for larger framed revolvers. Now, these are made from what's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a number 2 thickness of oxide. And what this does, and as you can see, both sides are molded to the gun. And this really helps with retention. Now, if you carry a gun like this or bigger, needless to say, you march to the beat of your own drum. But there are a few of us out there who still like revolvers and still like to carry full-size revolvers. Now, does this break in? How comfortable is this? Well, we're going to be talking more about that, but how well do they break in? And I've been wearing this one for about a week now, and worked in it, sweated in it, not with this gun in it though, but with a stainless revolver. And they tend to conform to the body. So let me put this one on and show you what I'm talking about. Now, once you break it in, they do conform very well to the body. And they're very, very concealable because they stay close to the body. The only problem is I'm not wearing the holster right, according to the designer Rob Leahy. And I'm going to show you a picture of a friend of mine, Scott. He's wearing it like you're supposed to wear this holster on the, for me, it would be the 8 o'clock position or the 4 o'clock position, whereas this one's more in the 3 o'clock position, or actually 9 since I'm left-handed. So let me take a look at that picture. Now, this is where you're supposed to wear it. And once again, for me, this would be the 8 o'clock position. You're supposed to be wearing it behind the hip bone. And this is very comfortable to wear it like this if you're standing all day, even sitting. In fact, I call this the John Wayne position, because this is the way the Duke carried his 6 guns and his Westerns back behind the hip. But to quote another famous celebrity, old Hulk Hogan, may he rest in peace, he had a saying when he'd stroke that beard because he didn't want to do a job for another wrestler, he'd say, "That doesn't work for me, brother." And that's what I got to say. That position doesn't work for me. Why? Well, it's very comfortable. And once again, standing all day, sitting in certain types of chairs, it's fine. But for me, it all unravels when I get into a car, especially my wife's little car where I have to cram in. Not quite as bad with my Jeep. But when I'm sitting in a car driving, I'm sitting on my gun. And that's very uncomfortable to me. Also, after a lifetime of police work and then later concealed carry and carrying at the 9 o'clock position, I don't like having to reach back. I would rather be able to reach straight down for my firearm. But that's me. Everybody's built different sizes, shapes. Everybody has different preferences for what's comfortable for them to carry. So Greg, you rated this 10 out of 10 for concealability. How would you rate it for comfort? Well, one thing you need to remember, this is not a little J-frame revolver. This is a full-size, what used to be a duty handgun. And, you know, you're going to carry some weight, but this holster does carry the weight well. I'll rate it as a 7 out of 10 with the more it breaks in to move up to possibly an 8 as far as comfort. Now, as far as aesthetics, this is a very beautiful holster. I love this stippling on the front of the holster. Gives it somewhat of a southwestern flair to it. And I love the tan color. Although it being a concealed carry holster, not a lot of people are going to see it. So now let's look at retention. I did some testing and I had a lot of fun doing it to see how well this holster retains the gun. Well, as far as retention, I'd say that this holster right here retains a firearm very well. But most likely none of us are going to go do any of those things, but maybe we're have our concealed carry weapon while we're cutting wood with a chainsaw, fixing a flat tire, working underneath a car, or crawling under a house to fix plumbing or a ductwork. And all those things I have done, and by twist, turn, whatever, I've had a concealed carry firearm pop out of a holster or just outright fall out of a holster. So these are the very important things to consider. Now, another aspect of retention has to do with obviously running, because even as a concealed carrier, you might have to sprint away from trouble or sprint to maybe a medical emergency. You don't want to lose your gun when you do that. I don't think you're going to, with this holster, you're not going to lose your firearm. The other thing is open carry. Now, if you're open carrying this gun, there is a possibility of somebody trying to snatch it, but good retention, you know, you clamp down that way. I know back many decades ago, Safariland sold a lot of K-frame leather holsters with a thumb brake to law enforcement. They were high quality materials and very poor design because the holster was floppy, and if you ran without clamping down on the gun, you risk losing it, bouncing out of the holster, or because it was so floppy, it could be easily snatched and defeat that thumb brake. So these are all things to think about. So Greg, what's your final appraisal? Well, when I didn't get this holster at first. I got one just like it, but it was black. Wasn't the color I ordered. All right. And that kind of soured me a little bit. In fact, my wife said, Greg, because, when I contacted via email, to get it, exchanged, got kind of sideways with the co-owner of Simply Rugged Holsters, and misunderstandings, misinformation. Anyway, I wasn't a happy camper. And plus, these are thick leather holsters. And the one I had, I wasn't able to break in. And it's like, is this thing ever going to break in? Well, yeah, it will, and break in fairly well. But as my wife said, Greg, if they'd have sent you the right holster in the first place, you wouldn't have had anything to have gotten upset about. Yeah, it's got a point there. But I have to say this, Rob Leahy reached out to me, and, I appreciate that, Mr. Leahy. So overall, I like this holster, and I've been carrying, my K-frame revolvers in it a good bit this last week or so. I think it's going to be something I get a lot of use out of. I'm not trying to be critical about Simply Rugged or any other family-owned company, but we as consumers need sometimes to realize a family-owned company is a family-owned company. I've been involved in 2 family-owned businesses. It's hard to make a buck, and all you are is trying to make an honest living and trying to put out a product. And sometimes we as consumers don't always appreciate that. We get a little jaded. We get burned by different companies over product or lack of service or lack of customer support, and it tends to make us a little jaded. So then when you have a company like Simply Rugged that gets a lot of good publicity from the gun media and the insiders and the top influencers, sometimes we as ordinary consumers, we kind of get a look at a jaded way. Well, like, who are they schmoozing? Rightly or wrongly. Not that they've got an excellent product or that this is a family company, trying to make money off of a product, and sometimes we get a little jaded, and sometimes too much of the same kind of publicity might tend to alienate some of us regular folks. But I'll tell another side to this whole thing as well. A man named Rob contacted me about a year and a half or so ago, wanted me to do a review on his Taurus Executive. And he sent me all the way from Florida, paid the FFL cost, sent me his Taurus Executive, and he had a Simply Rugged silver dollar pancake holster for the gun, left-handed too. Now, predominantly, I did review on the Executive, but the holster was real nice and very sturdy, excellent holster. I do like their silver dollar pancake holsters a lot. And but Rob was very proud of that gun and that holster. And I don't know Rob other than for him to send me the gun, and that may be the only gun he owned. But he took a lot of pride in that gun and in that holster. And there's a lot of people like Rob out there. They may only own one gun, and it may not be the best. It might be a Taurus G3, and they want that optic, that really good optic, or that really good light for their gun. And they take pride in that. And they may only make that purchase one time. But the thing is, people like Rob, they're going to tell friends, hey, I really like this gun, or I really like this holster. I really like that optic. This is what I recommend you get. A lot of people like Rob out there. And sometimes I think companies, especially the corporate companies, need to realize where their customer base lies. So that's all you got from me for today. And Jan and Rob, sorry I got sideways with you guys. And I do like this holster. And this is Greg with Lionquestfitness.